This journey began with the leadership of the church that I was a part of in Fort Langley, Living Waters. Doug was the pastor there. He came and talked to me one day, said, hey, there's this opportunity in Burnaby. This small church there is closed down. We're wanting a church planter to go in. And so I said, would you and Natalie want to move to Burnaby to start this new work? I remember going to talk to Natalie about that.
And the answer was no. Of course we don't want to do that. We're so young, we don't have any experience, and we had student loan debt.
And through prayer, God made it clear, no, this is what I have for you, and the only reasons why you wouldn't start this journey is because of your own fear. And so we said, okay, there wasn't a big plan set up, we didn't know how it was going to come together, or team, or finances, or all that, but we said, okay, God, we sense that you want us to do this. And so right from the start, it's been a journey of seeing God be faithful and for us to learn how to trust.
I remember just feeling like I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea how to lead people or how this church is going to grow, or when Brett would talk about all of us sharing Jesus with people and people coming to the church through us, God had led us here, and so obviously He would make a way and He would show us in time.
We decided to come, but the building was something that was actually giving us a lot of stress because we're going, how are we going to handle this building? It needs a lot of work.
As a brand new church plant, it's unusual to have a building already and to have grounds to look after, but God blessed us with that. At the same time, the building was very old, very run down, and in much need of repair. The siding on the front is chipping off. All the paint is just super old and ugly. Everything basically needed to be fixed. God brought a team of construction workers to us from Vancouver Island. These guys took a full week off work and they traveled over here and they worked for 6 days straight to get the renovations off to a good start, and they got so much done in such a short period of time.
There was an old sound booth right in the middle here, and there was 2 double doors on the other side that were old wood with like orange stained glass, and we actually reframed this whole wall in, and we built that sound booth and wired all that. We put new carpet in. A painter came and volunteered his time to come and spray the whole inside of the building and the outside.
There was an older gentleman who was a part of that group who was waiting for a knee replacement, and he was still loading up all his tools into his truck and coming in once or twice a week for about a month to help us out.
I created this prayer list of things we're praying for. We need a projector, we need some office equipment, computer monitors. We had nothing here.
A lady was helping us do some painting. She mentioned that her office building downtown was closing down and asked if we would like some of their stuff. So we sent 2 guys with 2 vehicles to head downtown, and they loaded up tons of office equipment.
Projector, desks, chairs, office equipment, keyboards, computer monitors. We saw God's faithfulness through the renovations, and we saw His faithfulness in a variety of other ways as well. One of them being the support that came around us in the journey early on. The CDC network was a network that we got a part of, a national church planting network. Incredible blessing. They brought wisdom, they brought financial support, they brought counsel and training around us to help us move forward in this journey. That was a great blessing. And the other way that we saw God's faithfulness was with financial provision. People from all over the country have donated to see this church. First, I was traveling around, we were speaking, we were sending out letters, and God's faithfulness just shone through as retired people gave, and businesses gave, and different churches gave, and young adults gave. God is faithful. He's faithful through the renovations. He was faithful in bringing support and training around us, and He was faithful with bringing financial provision when we needed it most. And those early days, that was fun. It just felt like God's gonna do something. People were moving, joining. It was not fun in terms of the work though.
I joined CityLights shortly after I got back from a missions trip to Brazil, and I was just in the middle of transition, and I really had felt called to missions.
And we were all sitting around in a circle in this very room one night and just screaming out, "This is tough."
There was a lot of growing pains in that time, but then it was also really rewarding when we would look back and realize how close that we were becoming as we were serving the city together.
I mean, we're sitting in the basement of the center talking about our identities, and we're talking about what's our name gonna be. I remember we had so many different crazy names.
I didn't really like CityLights at first, but the more we talked about it, the more it grew on me. I remember getting The piece of paper in the mail from the district office with City Lights written on there. We were so excited.
We launched 2 different life communities, and we didn't know what we were doing. We were just trying to serve people, trying to make friends, trying to stay afloat.
In 2012 was actually a very difficult time. A lot of different people left City Lights. The life communities actually shrunk rather than multiply.
We ended up going from 2 life communities back down to 1. It was a time of regrouping. It was a time of confusion. It was a time of going, God, what? You know, this wasn't the plan. What are you doing here? What's going on?
And it feels kind of unnatural to have that separation. People's lives take different directions, and God walks us all down different paths, and so it's not that any one person, any one direction or one church is the right church, but it was still not fun.
I remember God just saying that this was about Him, not about us, that City Lights is His church, not our church. Through that, a lot of really good things happened.
We ended up starting evening gatherings, and we gathered every Sunday night for a while in the evenings informally. Sometimes we had no music because we didn't have any musicians, so I would just teach. We had different teaching series, and as we had some visitors come, some people started to get connected. And what we saw was that even in the midst of confusion, God is faithful. He's at work. He's drawing people to Himself, and we saw that as people started to get connected to our community.
I used to work at Starbucks across the street from the center, and Brett, Tim, and Corey would come in to grab coffees, and sometimes they would sit there to do some work. After a while, they invited me to one of their events, and it just kind of went from there.
Heading into the fall 2012, we did the series Purity, Purpose, and Pursuit. That was a really important series for our young church. Sometimes we saw 50 people come to those evening gatherings, actually.
I remember when God surprised us by saving people. It happened at a time that I don't think any of us were really expecting it was going to happen. After one of those sermons on marriage, God saved someone, and it was just shocking but awesome at the same time. And God was just showing that He's faithful and that He was going to do His thing, even if we didn't expect it.
It was actually a really encouraging time. By the time end of 2012 hit, we actually grew quite a bit.
We started to see other people join our launch team, and the team started to grow. It was encouraging to see God bringing the right people for the right time. We saw His faithfulness as He was drawing people to partner with us.
I joined City Lights because a friend of mine invited me out to come. People were so welcoming, and I just enjoyed the worship and the sermons. The servant team that I'm a part of is the kids ministry. I'm involved in overseeing all the Sunday activities for kids. So that includes the crafts, the Bible story, the singing, all that on Sunday mornings.
Throughout all the months leading up to the grand opening, we clearly saw God's faithfulness in a variety of details, especially with the church in California paying for the mail out so that our community could hear about our church.
I personally didn't feel like we were ready for the grand opening because we almost didn't have enough people to pull it off.
Leading up to the grand opening, there's pancake breakfast, we're giving out ice cream sandwiches with the invites, there's a mail out, there's newspaper articles. We were trying to spread the word, and it went well.
I worked the parking lot that day, and I think a favorite memory for me was it was just packed. We don't have much parking, and so we had direct traffic all over the place. And it was a lot of fun to see how many people would show up. And that was also the day that we had a barbecue. I had to thaw out burgers in the oven ahead of time, or like as we were trying to run the system, and we had to pump through about 160 people through our barbecue, which was a lot considering how much it was raining. It was absolutely pouring. It was pretty funny.
I remember just standing there, just looking at this full room, just never seen the room that full before, and seeing a bunch of people that didn't know Jesus and just needing to proclaim Jesus. And it was like God gripped my heart in that moment, seeing that room full of people, just going, remember how I've been faithful. And remember that it's not just about a Sunday event, but I've sent you here and I've called you here because people here don't know about Jesus. You need to make Jesus known. God's been faithful through the whole journey. What I've really learned through this is going, man, we can't do this. We can't. We need the power of the Spirit. We need God to do something, and God is, and God will do something.
Our city has so many needs, and so many needs that only Jesus and the church can fill.
Right now we have a few families that are coming regularly, but we're really looking forward to the future and having families in the community start attending regularly and just seeing the children's ministry grow.
That's one thing I am prayerful in moving forward, is that God would bring musicians who passionately love Him and enjoy serving the church.
You just have to continue and to continue continuing, because life situations change, but God doesn't, and the pursuit of being His servant is something that, even through difficult times as a missionary in a challenging city, you don't have a choice. You must persevere. God's put us in a place to be bold and to continue being bold.
For this city to be impacted and for us to make Jesus known here, and that His name would be glorified in Vancouver.
God did not send His Son Jesus into the world to condemn the world, but that the world may be saved through Him. Jesus lived the life that we could not live. He didn't sin or rebel. Jesus knows that we cannot live a sinless life. He knows that we can't go and live perfect. But what He's doing is He's inviting us into a life where we can walk not under that shame, not under that weight, not under that burden. And He went to the cross saying, I'm paying the tab, I'm paying the penalty, I'm taking care of it. That is what I'm doing. This is the love of God for you. This is the humility of God for us. Jesus.
We'll be a part of a move of God in the city for God's glory and the city's good, because there's so many people that need to know about Jesus. And throughout all the difficulty and all the challenge and all the mess of our journey, God is faithful, and God will continue to be faithful, because God wants to see lives changed, and God wants to see people come from death to life.